I'm back. Good afternoon. I know this is a very unholy hour. I hope I will have enough energy to wake you all up. And I hope this will be interesting enough for you to understand and to appreciate and keep you up. Anyway, our topic for this afternoon will be after you've seen will be on the positive pregnancy test client. So after you've seen them, after you've met with them, counseled them, assisted them as they came to your center, we shall now go deeper into an understanding of a positive pregnancy test client. So women usually facing unintended pregnancies or trying to make personal decisions about their options deserve honest, medically accurate, and real support for making the choice that are right for them. So they are unintended pregnancies, and as I told you this morning, they will come to you all confused in the crossroads. So what they will be expecting from you are answers to questions that they may have. And so as helpmates or helpers for these women who come to you, it is very important that we give them honest, medically accurate, and real, honest-to-goodness support. Now, if your pregnancy test is positive, definitely you have to make a decision. A decision will have to be made once they see that their pregnancy test proves positive. So it is important that they get facts before they decide. All right? Again, they have to get facts before they decide on anything. And that is what we are here for, to help and assist them in that. Now, I don't want to go into the details of the medical details of the physiology of pregnancy and the human chorionic gonadotropin, but I will just briefly inform you how it goes for the pregnancy tests. Basically because you need to also explain to them and for the mothers, for the women to understand what it's all about. Now, when you do your pregnancy test, what they're looking for basically is the HCG, the amount of HCG in the urine or the blood for some. So the human chorionic gonadotropin, or HCG, is a glycoprotein that is normally produced first by the cells that make up the placenta. Yung bahay-bata ang tinatawag natin. Later, by the placenta itself during pregnancy. Its primary function is to support the pregnancy by encouraging the production of progesterone. Alright? Importante kasi yun. And this supports the promotion further of the development of the placenta early on in the in the pregnancy. Now, levels of HCG can first be detected as early as 11 days following conception. Tama ba, Ma'am Lily? So, it can already be detected 11 days following conception in a blood test. And 1 to 3 days later in a urine test. Alright? So, yun yung pag-check mo, pagkuha nila ng kanilang pregnancy test. Ito ay over-the-counter lang lahat to eh. You can just get it anytime, anywhere. So, ang results, usually, ang HCG under 5 milliliter units per ml means negative, or that the woman is not pregnant if it's under 5 milliliter units per milliliter. The HCG between 5 to 25 is equivocal, may or may not be pregnant. And HCG over 25, you are definitely pregnant. All right? Now, HCG levels are also higher. They say studies have shown that HCG levels are also higher in women carrying a female fetus. Yun research. Okay? And there are also some normal pregnancies with quite a low level of HCG. So may variations. So it's not naman really hard and fast. Alright? But then, those are individual differences already. Alright. So these are samples of pregnancy tests that you get over the counter. Alright? Iba-iba yung mga generic, may mga kanya-kanyang pangalan yan. Alright? So you usually test the first urine, for the urine test, the first urine in the morning para mas accurate. Alright. Why do your clients come? Clients still come to the Pregnancy Resource Center for a pregnancy test for confirmation of a home test that they had already done. Usually they come to you, they already did a home test, so they just need further confirmation. That's why they go to your center. And then sometimes they also want to be confirmed of the pregnancy to determine if they are going to take the morning after pill, which is also over the counter here. Okay, they come to you, to your center, because they are also sexually active and are late for their period or worried that they will be late again and be pregnant. So yun, pupunta yan sa inyo just to make sure. And most clients do not see fertility as a gift and do not understand how God has designed their bodies to work. We have more of this coming in because it's all physical. There is no spiritual component to the beauty of having life or creating life in your body. So they come here just for the physical support. Now it is important that we help her understand how the pregnancy test works. Alright? So I'll just do this briefly because it's too medical also for some. Pregnancy test kits work by testing for the hormone I mentioned earlier, yung HCG, or the human chorionic gonadotropin hormone, which is present. Alright, so we have here, lapit ako. Alright, we have here your pituitary gland that produces your hormones. Alright, masyadong technical no? But I'll just run through it. The follicle-stimulating hormone stimulates the growth and maturation of a follicle. Yun yung lalabas pagka kunyari yung egg mo, no? As the follicle grows and matures, it secretes estrogen in increasing amounts. The rising level of estrogen exerts negative feedback on the pituitary gland to gradually lower the level of the follicle-stimulating hormone. Alright? Gets? However, kikita nyo dyan, yung nasa linya sa taas, that's your luteinizing hormone, and your FSH is the one below. That's your follicle-stimulating hormone. However, estrogen exerts a positive feedback effect on the hypothalamus. Thus, just before ovulation, the hypothalamus, magdidirect yan, yung part ng brain mo, to secrete a larger amount of releasing hormone, which causes the pituitary gland to secrete a burst of luteinizing hormones, yung LH. The effect of this burst on the mature follicle causes it to rupture, releases the egg, and start to form a corpus luteum. Yun yung pinaka magfo-form eventually. Okay? Pag nag-implant. Alright? So nakikita nyo, once you reach your ovulation period, you see the shooting up of these hormones. Okay. After ovulation, yung LH, yung luteinizing hormone, stimulates the corpus luteum to secrete progesterone and estrogen now to prepare the uterus for implantation. So you need that. So it's building up the lining. You need that to build up the lining to cushion or to house that the egg and the baby. The rising high levels of estrogen and progesterone combination in the blood exert a negative feedback effect on the hypothalamus, causing levels of LH to decrease. Okay, note. As LH decreases, the corpus luteum starts to disintegrate. Unless an embryo is implanted near the end of the post-ovulatory phase, unless nag-implant siya, without the stimulation of LH, luteinizing hormone, the corpus luteum stops producing estrogen and progesterone. Thus, the endometrium is no longer maintained and begins to deteriorate and shed. So, magkakamens ka na. Alright? So, wala na siya. Alright. So ito yung corpus luteum as the corpus luteum as it develops, as it forms. Okay? Unless an embryo is implanted near the end of the post-ovulatory phase, magdi-disintegrate siya. Alright? So ito yon, endometrium mo na nagbi-build up. See the curve? Now, once hindi yan na-implant, that will leave your body as your regular menstruation. Okay? Okay. Now, if an egg is fertilized, it begins to divide as it travels down the fallopian tube. Nagdi-divide na yan as it travels along the fallopian tube. And the blastocyst that reaches the uterus is about 100 cells in size already and ready to implant in the endometrium. Mag-i-implant na siya. If implantation is successful, hindi ka nag-take ng mga abortifacient, hindi ka nag-take ng kung ano-ano para hindi matuloy, di ba? If implantation is successful, the outer embryonic membrane, the chorion, secretes HCG. Okay, kaya you will see that in the tests, which maintains the corpus luteum. It keeps it intact. And then brings you towards the first trimester of pregnancy. Pregnancy test kits work by testing for the hormone called HCG, which I mentioned earlier. HCG is secreted by the human embryo when it implants in the lining of the uterus, 3 to 7 days after conception. If a pregnancy test detects HCG in a woman's urine, a positive test result appears. Kaya yun yung result, that's the result that you get from the pregnancy tests that your women take at home. Basta makikita na, ay, naka 2 marks. Ma'am, buntiso ako. No? Ano ngayon yun? Anong intindi niya nun? That's why it's very important that they also know this because they will know that on conception, hindi siya dugo. Human being na yon. Okay? Now, the positive test result, a urine pregnancy test that is only one indication of pregnancy. They usually do that. That's the first thing they do. They buy this urine test thingy, and then they test the urine, and then that's the first sign, wow, I'm pregnant. And then it is not a medical, this is important, it is not a medical confirmation. Not a medical confirmation or a diagnosis of pregnancy. This can be done by the physician. So if you are in a pregnancy support center and you're helping out this women, it doesn't mean that that's conclusive. You still have to refer them for medical attention. You have to refer them to a medical doctor for further confirmation. So wag kayong sasagot na, ay, okay na to, pre. No, please, kasi there are other tests that ought to be done. When there is a positive, we do proceed, however, as if the client is already pregnant. Kasi there are also times that they have false positives, no? But even then, whether you're not sure if that this client is pregnant or not, you have to look at that client as already pregnant and deal with her in that manner. Now, there is also such a thing that we call the pregnancy wheel. How many of you are familiar with it or used it? Anyone? Good for you. I wasn't familiar with it. I wasn't really familiar with, yes? I wasn't really familiar with it, but then a friend of mine gave me one and showed it to me, and this was from her mother. Mother pa niya, who gave it to her when she had her baby, and she used it. Actually, for her, it was accurate, no? For her, it was accurate. So, for people who are very poor in math like me, who will have to do all these computations, you can that can help you, the pregnancy wheel. Now, for the clients who come to you, sometimes if they see that, psychologically, if they see that and they use that and you show that to them, the pregnancy really becomes real. It gives them that feeling, shucks, it's totoo nga, I'm pregnant. All right? So that helps. There's something concrete that they see. All right? So that's the pregnancy wheel. I brought one, which you can see, show and tell. Ano na nga ito ginawa lang. This was the one that the mother of my friend gave her to use. Iniikot-ikot ganyan yan. Meron na yan. You can see it. Alright, so these are samples of it. Many centers use the pregnancy wheels to help the clients estimate pregnancy due dates. Estimate. These wheels give a quick calculation of an estimated due date based on the first day of a client's last menstrual period, yung LMP. Alright? And sabi ko nga kanina, it makes it real. Because there's something concrete that they see. Okay? There are different samples, different kinds of pregnancy wheels that centers use or you can get. Okay? Now, pregnancy information. The goal of your pregnancy centers, which we are really pushing that you have yourself. Sabi nga ni Bishop, kailangan talaga yon, no? Now, what is our goal? Is to equip our clients with the basic pregnancy information so that they can assess their own situation in anticipation of a formal pregnancy diagnosis. Okay, parang piniprep nyo na sila for the formal diagnosis of pregnancy from a medical doctor. Because ultrasound can be done and other palpation can be done and all other stuff can be done by the doctor. Okay. Some centers give out booties to clients para ma-excite. Yun na yung mga, ano bang tawag doon sa Tagalog? Yun nga, booties. they give them out for free. Para naman, wow, it's, yung medyas na maliliit, no? Parang, wow, it's real. Ma-excite man lang siya. Kaka-baby na nga ako. Diba? So some centers give that out. Alright? And at this point lang, they give it out to point out that she truly is having a baby. And a baby is something you have to celebrate for. Some give educational brochures, so you have to be ready in your centers with educational brochures to help give information to your women coming to your center for help. Some ask clients to list or tell you her pregnancy symptoms for an intake interview form that you will have to fill out. What are her signs and symptoms? You have to check. They also have a form that you need to fill out for that. So you need to prepare those. And then, of course, this is what I'm saying, medical referrals. A positive test client should be referred for confirmation and diagnosis of the pregnancy from a physician, a medical doctor. Yun yung importante. Now, some centers have that facility. They also have ultrasounds and all that in their center, and they have a resident medical doctor. So if that's available in your center, then you can proceed and have that doctor help out. If your center provides medical services, then, as I've said, this will further confirm the pregnancy of your client. As a pregnancy center consultant or helper, you cannot make a medical diagnosis. Please do not make a medical diagnosis or give medical advice of any kind. As I've said, in our love approach, you support, you give options, you empower, you change the value system of that client that comes to you, but you do not give any medical advice beyond what you are allowed to. Okay? Okay. This is again very important. Using correct terminologies. Ito dapat i-learn natin, and some of us have to unlearn certain things as well. The key point is, in using correct terminology, just as with the terms for humans who are already born, the child is a human being from the moment of conception. That should be clear to all of us, and I think it is. From fertilization to or conception, that is already a human being. Hindi siya blood or hindi siya dugo lang. So, usually, you use first, it's a human embryo, then becomes a human fetus, and then an infant, a youth, an adolescent, and of course, like most of us, aging already, and then death, no? Yun yung mga stages. But you don't use just embryo, because those are just medical, that's medical lingo. When discussing abortion, many people refer to the unborn child or the fetus, right? The unborn child, the fetus when you talk about abortion. Others, especially pro-life advocates, are careful to use child or the baby. Embryo, fetus, and the like are medical terms that only describes physiologically the different stages of development. So then, you are unlikely to have reason to use technical terms when you talk to the clients. Agree? Diba ano yung sinabi ko kanina? They have to feel comfortable with you. They have to trust you. You have to reach out to them. You have to speak the same language. So terms like embryo, fetus of a 16-year-old or an 18-year-old who comes to you, I'm pregnant. She would not understand that. Okay, that will be Greek to her. So simply refer to your child. You're carrying, you have a child, your baby, your little girl, or your little boy. If you use terms like this, it becomes real, and that which she is carrying is something human, something important, something valued by God, which she should value herself. For example, a consultant, you might occasionally use embryo or fetus, but you should usually combine them with more common phrases. I'll show you later. For example, a consultant showing a client illustrations of embryonic development might say, if you are 4 weeks pregnant, your child, alright, hindi yung the fetus, but your child is at the embryonic stage of development shown in this picture. Example. Okay? Your child is in this embryonic stage. Am I getting through? This is very, very important when you are counseling or when you are helping clients. Make sure she understands pregnancy means conception and fertilization. All the scientific evidence show that a new human life begins in conception, not sa implantation. Yan ang ongoing debate and issue, especially coming out now with the RH thing being pushed. Yun yung mga nakikita nyo sa TV, yung mga pro at against. Wala pa daw yun, hindi pa daw baby yun, kaya pwede pa. Okay. Thus, fertilization and conception are the same thing. Implantation is just a later occurrence. Yung pinakita ko sa inyo kanina, yung corpus luteum, etc. Okay? This is important to understand because the morning after pill, as well as the birth control pill, can work by preventing the uterine lining from building properly. Kaya hindi mag-i-implant yung embryo. So these are all abortifacient. Diba? Hindi matutuloy. Kaya sasabihin nila, wala pa naman baby eh. Wala pang baby. So, inaano ko lang para reglahin ako. Ganyan, di ba? Pero hindi. Still. Di ba? And that is sad because most of our women, especially the young, think that way. That's already their mindset. And then you hear it left and right with the pro-RH proponents. That's what they're pushing. And that's what the kids believe. That's what they understand to be true. And because that's the more comfortable thing to believe in, especially if you do casual sex, diba? Okay. If the new human being cannot implant in this uterine lining, then it is aborted. Alright? So they cannot wait to take in something, use something para reglahin at kasama na doon. Make sure she understands again, pregnancy by MAP can act as an abortifacient, as I've said. If promoters, however, want to obscure that fact by insisting that pregnancy occurs only at implantation and that the human embryo is merely a pre-embryo, kaya ipupush nila, may pre-embryo pa sila. Of course, is there such a thing? Hey, is there such a thing? None? Okay. Now, this is the commonly forgotten part of the equation. You're not going to have a baby if you don't have a father or a man. It's a woman and a man that God created so that the human race will be propagated and he will have more children he will love and take care of. So hindi lang the woman. So let's go and look at the father of that baby that's being carried. Don't forget him. Now, does she want him to be involved in raising the child? These are questions that you have to ask. Does she want the father to be involved in raising the child? All right. Next, other question. Is she still in a relationship with him? Or it's just casual that she may not even know who the father is? I will make kwento. My daughter is 22. So, yun yung age of sexual activity, diba? For the yuppies. She told me, there was this friend of hers who got pregnant. So they were together, and then she said, I think I'm pregnant, and showed her positive pregnancy test. So the natural response of her friends were to ask her, who's the father? I was floored when she said, when my daughter told me, you know, Mom, what she said? I don't know. Because I was drunk, and I think I had 2, 3 men. I don't know anymore. And this girl is in a private Catholic university. Can you imagine how many more are like this? It's sad. It's a real sad state of affairs. She doesn't know. And then she has friends too who have had 2, 3 abortions already. And matter of fact. That's why I feel so appalled and so convicted in this end. Primarily because I have a daughter and these are the people she's mingling with. These are the people she's in school with. These are the people she'll be working with. So can you imagine how hard it is also for her to stand firm because she will be laughed at. Ang corny mo naman, napaka-old maid mo naman, or napaka-luma naman ikaw, makaluma. Diba? It's really very hard for her, and I sometimes I have to affirm her time and again, kaya mo yan. Kaya mo to stand up for what is right. But you can imagine how difficult it might be. It was not like that with us during our time some 60 years back. No? Hindi pala. Hindi pa naman tayo 1 year old noon. Okay. It was not as difficult. Diba? Yung mga 50 lang, no? Oh, sige. It was not as difficult. Kasi during that time, diba, hindi naman common yung pregnancies outside of wedlock eh. Ngayon, it's so common. Diba? It's so common. And that's so sad. These are questions you have to find out. Because in a pregnancy, there's a mother and a father in that child. Diba? The child has to have a mother and a father. It can't be just a mother. Diba? But does the father want to own up? Diba? Is the client, ano na? Does the client know who the father is? That's what I just said earlier. She doesn't know who because she had 3 during the night. Alright, so the father should be actively involved as well. The number one way to help a young mother who is trying to be a parent is to get the father of her child involved as well. Alright? That will help her a lot. Too often women who have abortions do so to please the father of the child. Sad. Kaya fathers, you have a responsibility also in this pregnancy centers. It's not just for women to counsel women. The fathers of these babies have to be counseled as well. It's very, very important that they be counseled as well. A lot of them would like to have their babies aborted because ayaw nung boyfriend ko. Or baka iwanan na ako. Hahanap na yan ng iba. Alright? Others arrange for men to be at the center to meet the father to discuss whether marriage is a possibility. So, sa center ninyo, you also have to have men to talk to the fathers. Kasi we are focusing now on the women because they are the ones heavy with child. But you have to also talk to the fathers who also need support, who also need love, who also need to understand what they got themselves into, and who also need to understand the beauty of life and the need to preserve that life at whatever cost. Okay, so you can discuss with the father issues that they have on hand. Financially, I cannot support the child, so then what can we do? There are other options. So that is where you again go to your O part, where you can give them options to take. If the biological father will not be involved, does the mother have other responsible men who can provide essential masculine input into the child's life? Some fathers just disappear, no? Or some fathers just, I don't even think that's mine. Diba? Alright, magdi-DNA pa tayo, magpoprobahan pa tayo, come on. Diba? So, if that happens, make sure as you help the woman look at options. there should also be a father figure. It can be the father of the woman, can be an older brother, an uncle, who can take on the role of a father figure to show masculine traits, no, that the child may not even get to learn. Of course, once you're pregnant, positively pregnant, walang kaduda-dudang pregnant, now you have to now undergo prenatal care. All right? Whether that girl is contemplating other things, our duty is to provide good prenatal care for that mother and for the baby. Knowledge about appropriate health and nutrition during pregnancy. So you have to start reading up also on proper nutrition, okay, for a healthy mother and a healthy baby. Okay, most urgent need of the pregnant mother is to choose the option of, in choosing the option of parenting, will need to include nutritional needs of the child should be met through the mother, so she must make sure she eats well. Okay? So sabi niya, I'll keep the baby, I'll be a parent. Okay then, if that is so, take care of yourself. Take care of yourself so that you'll have a very healthy pregnancy and a healthy baby. Okay, the most urgent need for any pregnant mother who chooses the option again of parenting is many other maternal medical factors can affect the child. She should be aware of this. Alright, maraming bagay can affect the child like alcohol, cigarette smoking, alright, some prescription drugs. That's why you have to work hand in hand with a medical doctor already once that's positive, because they will have to be prepared what are the do's and don'ts. Right? So stop smoking because studies have shown that it affects the development of the child. Okay? Ay, sorry. Okay. Mga drugs dyan. Hindi na pwede. Okay. Another consideration, the importance of visits, yung mga prenatal visits. That should be emphasized, okay? So your center has to refer or provide support for medical support. There are many brochures, websites, books that you can share with her. Check with your center on what materials you have. You know, an aside, there are those positively pregnant. Then they're still contemplating in their minds abortion or whatever, or adoption because they cannot handle it. But then when they see it's very effectively, diba? Yung pictures and the Joshua baby and the different stages of pregnancy, that's that picture actual na mga parang mahahawakan mong ganon. You know that most of the women who come for help change their minds once they see that. Yung mga models, mga mold ng different stages of pregnancy, they change their minds. I remember Lily sharing once that there was one she was counseling who changed her mind upon seeing that and upon touching it. So, pinipray over din nyo yung mga ganun ninyo. Sincerely. Because that can also be used powerfully. The best care for herself, she will need to understand the development of the unborn. This is what I'm saying. She has to understand what is going on inside her. So this is a very good venue for you to show her. And this is very effective. They learn to appreciate the value of what they are carrying inside them and the beauty of life and the beauty of being able to be with God in producing something like this and create a human being in the image and likeness of God. All right, let's look at pregnancy from a Christian perspective, which they also have to understand. This is from John Paul II, his theology of the body. These are some tenets of the theology of the body teachings that he has. All right. God himself said it is not good for man to be alone. Okay, so there is a special participation. On speaking of a certain participation of man and woman in the creative work of God, Pope John Paul says that, and he wishes to point out that having a child is an event which is deeply human and full of religious meaning insofar as it involves both spouses. So dito sa theology of the body, na-explain din yung role of the man and the woman in this procreative gift that God has given us. So ito yung Christian perspective that the woman who comes to you for help should be given. When a person is born to the conjugal union of two, he brings with him into the world a particular image and likeness of God himself. Can you beat that? If you hear that, if you listen to that, gosh, this love, whether there was love while it was being done, but then this act of being used by God to carry his child that he wants to bring out into the world and maybe to be used in his plan for us, you are carrying in your womb. Isn't that beautiful? If that mother appreciates that and sees that, ewan ko na lang kung gusto pa niyang mawalay sa kanya yung baby na yon. Fatherhood and motherhood quite differently than he is present all other instances of begetting on earth. Anyway, what it says here is that motherhood and fatherhood, that partnership in procreation is very, very important. He values that so much and he wants us to value it ourselves. Okay. Sa Genesis pa lang nakikita na natin yan. So the gift of procreation, that is how important the body is to us. Okay. Now let's go see the E part of the love approach when it comes to positive pregnancy. Positive na nga eh. Narinig na natin. So how do we empower? How do we extend and empower our woman, the woman that comes to us for help? Parenting without marriage. A pregnant woman will need to explore in depth her family and friends support system. Her social support system is very important if and when parenting without marriage comes into the picture. Okay? I will carry on with this pregnancy. I will be a single parent. I don't need to get married to this man who doesn't even like to own up to my baby. Alright? So he has to understand, and we have to help her realize and empower her to see what support systems she has so that she can carry on with this being a single parent or a parent without marriage. Okay, your community referrals might include housing and healthcare. Pwede nyo siyang alalayan dyan. Mentoring, helping her by giving her classes on parenting, childbirth, education, and church or spiritual support. These are things that you can offer her. Okay? That is how you empower and help her expand. Now, parenting with marriage naman, community referrals and classes as listed, and additionally, you might want to train male volunteers to mentor the men. Alright? They also need mentoring. The men, they don't also know how to become fathers. So they also need support on this. Again? Alright. Marriage and relationship classes for couples. Alright? This is very important. Which, of course, I think the Family and Life Apostolate can do. Diba? And then another option you have is adoption, which I've explained. Kung talagang hindi kaya, alright, at hirap, then there is that option to carry on through with the marriage, to finish that, and then offer the baby for adoption. As I've said, some mothers, once they are already heavy, or sometimes even when they deliver the baby, they change their minds. Hindi na ho. Parang hindi na ho, akin na ho. Pag nakita niya nag-smile na sa kanya, tinignan na siya, nag-eye contact na sila. Kung di ka pa naman, ewan. Alright? Di pa man. Sorry, bias. I really love children. So, just that look. Gosh, how can you give it away? Diba? So they change their minds even after delivery. Alright? So these are options that you have to take. Adoption. Okay. As I've said, adoption also offers great joy to people, to couples who cannot bear children. So give them that joy as well. Okay, again, referrals. We have so many. You have DSWD here, you have Kaisang Buhay, which is the DSWD arm for adoption. So if you need further support and help on it, we also have adoption support groups, and those also who have given their children for adoption, sometimes you also have to keep them supported. Okay, the role of the helper, tayo yon, is to offer support and information to the client, but not make a decision for her. Very, very important. You don't make a decision for her. You just guide her and support her to make that right decision. And of course, never stop praying for the clients who come to your care. You must remember the love approach and maintain the integrity of the relationship between the helper, you, and your client. Okay? So this is very, very important, and this is a value. Yan. Ito si Joshua. Alright? This comes in different colors, different, ayan. Lily only has two. We have the Caucasian, we have the Asian. Asian ba to? Hindi, ano? Asian, no? We have the Asian, you know. You know, sometimes you just show them this, your baby's already like this. And then when they hold it, nako, you'll see tears rolling down their eyes. Do you think they will think about how it was made, that the father treated him this way? No, they will just now focus on, gosh, this is a gift from God. How can I ever think of getting rid of it? Baka ito makadiscovery ng cure to cancer. Eh kung nilaglag si Pacquiao, wala kayong Pacquiao. Diba? Yung mga ganon. You will not have this. You know, if you just talk to them and make them appreciate it, my gosh, can you imagine? Now, this is the very important thing that I just like to drive at. If you have a positive pregnancy test client, and using the love approach and being used by God yourself to be a helper for these women. I always look at it this way. It is a privilege to be called to support and to help these women and these babies that the Lord has intended to be in this world. God has a plan for each and every one of us, even that baby that woman is carrying. And she has to appreciate that. And you as helpers have to appreciate that. It's a gift and it's a privilege. So let's go and use that privilege and that gift. Thank you.